Our next guest, Cástulo de la Rocha, has traveled a long road from the hills of Chihuahua, Mexico, to being the CEO of the largest health center in the country. We want to welcome Cástulo de la Rocha to the Trend Talk.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Oh, we're excited. You're such a champion for the Latino community. And I wanted to start there because you attended, you were a student of UC Santa Barbara.
Right.
And while there, you started an organization that is called the United Mexican American Students.
Yes.
UMAS, it was called.
Correct.
It was a precursor to MECHA.
Correct.
Why did you start this organization?
Well, actually, the roots of social involvement and involvement in the community really began at Roosevelt High School in East Los
Are you
Angeles.
an alumni?
Absolutely.
Hey!
There we go. It started at Roosevelt High School in 1967 because I think that the awakening there in 1967, obviously, they led to the walkouts in 1968. It was about an awakening, an understanding that something was different in the air. There was the civil rights movement had sort of taken the country by, not by surprise, but by a storm.
Mm-hmm.
We felt it in the East Los Angeles community. And I remember when I graduated from Roosevelt High School, I was the speaker at the graduation. I gave a speech and I said something, 12 years of education, and yet Latinos are being disproportionately represented in Vietnam and the number of people that are being killed in Vietnam. 12 years of education, and yet we don't have enough Latinos at the University of California. So that by the time I arrived at the University of California at Santa Barbara, it was 12, 13,000 students at UCSB. And there was 20 of us that were Latinos. And it was a little awkward, but I had this sense of justice and inequality, or looking for equality. Issues around discrimination were not quite as defined as they would become. So what I did is that I decided that I wanted to organize some efforts to recruit more Chicano students to the University of California at Santa Barbara.
After you attended UC Santa Barbara, you went to Berkeley to study law. You came out and you were worked a couple of years with the Mexican American Legal Defense and Educational Fund, MALDEF.
Right.
But then you switched gears and you went into the health sector of community. Why? What was that?
Well, I tell you that if there's one fundamental issue that sort of in the most important issue for me, the one thing that really matters, it's always been about social justice. So as an undergraduate at the University of California at Santa Barbara, I was with UMAS, with MECHA. I was one of the founders of El Plan de Santa Barbara, a founder for MECHA. I wanted to impact constitutional change and civil rights. So I went to the law school, and I worked for MALDEF for 2 or 3 years. And there are a series of events that brought me back to Los Angeles. While at MALDEF, though, I would tell you, I learned a great deal about class action lawsuits and how to impact. But this was after the fact. What I really wanted to do was to get in front of that. I wanted to bring institutional change. So I came to Los Angeles with the idea, what am I going to do when I grow up? And so I met with a number of people, including Mayor Bradley at that point. He pointed out that there was a little clinic out in East LA called East LA Barrio Free Clinic. If you want to get involved in the community, go check this out. So I ended up at the East LA Barrio Free Clinic.
Talk to us about the skills and maybe the confidence and everything that you learned being a student activist that you still apply to this day as an executive in high-level positions in all of these amazing companies.
Well, I'll tell you, I learned a great deal from the university, and the exposure at classrooms were absolutely marvelous. But there was nothing like the sort of exposure and what I learned by organizing and bringing people together, identifying issues, thinking through strategies and tactics, negotiating skills, setting up budgets and committees. And that was phenomenal. Today, I would tell you that those are the most important skills that I took away from that university. Incredible. They really are, I can tell you without a reservation in my mind. Those were the most important skills.
Wow. And you've done a lot of organizing and a lot of new programs and initiatives at your clinic, but
Exactly.
a lot of interesting things besides, of course, the wonderful work that you do with the healthcare.
Right.
But you also did something novel. You created a web series
Right.
that employed professional actors, and they talked about HIV, the importance of getting checked and all
Exactly.
Now, the first thing we need to do is get you tested.
Don't worry, Papi. I'll go with you. I'll get tested too.
You are also a patron of the arts. You were at the board member of CTG for 15 years. Now you're with the Los Angeles Theater Center on their board.
Right.
And now you're also doing films.
Exactly.
You're also doing, you were one of the producers for the Carlos Almaraz documentary that is just right now doing the festival circuit.
Exactly. Exciting.
Why is that important for you to be involved with the arts?
Well, I tell you that I have a long connection to the arts going back 40 years. Back in the old Chicano student movement, the posters, the silk screens, this was a way of communicating during that period of time. So I started collecting as a bit of a hobby. From that, it went to oils and it went to putting together. We have close to about 1,500
And now you're
major
talking
arts
about
today.
your art collecting,
And
because
the art collection, right.
you collect a lot of Chicano artists,
Right.
and you have how many artists are in your collection?
Well, we have 1,500 paintings that we have exhibited throughout our facilities. Got 52 facilities throughout Los Angeles and Orange County. All our facilities have. So Yolanda Garcia, Margarita Gutierrez, Roberto Gutierrez, Roberto Gildemontes, Almaraz. All of them are in my hallways. They're all in my exam rooms. They're all in our waiting areas.
So
They're in
you're
my
giving them
corporate
so
office.
much exposure.
Totally.
But you're going beyond borders, because
Right.
now you're going over to Mexico, and you
Exactly.
took all of this art collection and you're
Exactly.
traveling.
Yeah.
Tell us what the name of the art collection is, because I love the name, and where it's going.
Constructing Bridges in the Time of Wars, Chicano-Mexican art from Los Angeles to Mexico. So it's a great title.
And how have they received it in Mexico? Because, it's like we're Chicanos and they're Mexicans.
Yeah. Well, there's 40 million of us of Mexican origin living in the United States. That's almost half the population of Mexico.
Right.
The sad thing about it, the last time something like this was 15 years ago. 15 years ago. The public has been phenomenal. The response that we received to the exhibit has been phenomenal. The press has been incredible. I mean, I am talking about millions and millions of dollars from media that we have
Really?
had the exposure. I've had 5-6 people at a time at each one of these things. Can't keep up with the interviews. That
And
we
you
need to
have
do.
this, you do this through your foundation.
Correct.
You do a lot of programming.
Right.
East LA Meets Napa, which is
Right.
a wine festival.
Right.
Tell us where we can find out all this information. What's your website?
What's the website? Just go to altamed.org and you can scroll down there to East LA Meets Napa, the art exhibit, and all the things that we're involved with.
Thank you so much for
you. It's my
joining us.
pleasure.